Morning. Morning. Oh my gosh, my hair is like a train wreck, isn't it? It's just like I should have looked in the mirror instead of just making coffee because now I look like a wild animal on my live. I look like a wild animal on my live. Oh well, you guys can put up with it, right? It's part of doing lives. It's part of at least conscious coffee is to be completely in the raw. Went to bed last night without taking my makeup off, so it got me with partial makeup and my hair looking like I'm a wild animal this morning. So whatever. At least I got my coffee. I got my kid off to school the way I was supposed to. Overslept this morning. But here I am. Here I am. So trying to drink too hot coffee. Not doing the elf thing today because nobody's bringing me a straw. Well, nobody's here. I'm actually the only one in my house right now, which is a really, really weird thing, and maybe it's not weird because I am a mom of 7, but some of my children have moved out, and 2 of my kids are with their dad right now, and then I don't know where everybody is actually. I really don't. And the only kid that was home managed to make it off to school, so, but as a mom of 7, I find myself in my house all by myself. So, yeah, I should strip and run around naked or something. I don't know. Yeah, not that cool, but it is definitely it's definitely nice. It's nice to have the silence, to just not have anything going and just completely enjoy the silence. And, coming up on that point, and that's, and a lot of what I do in Conscious Coffee, and I've had people thank me for being so real, so raw, so just, unput together in these Conscious Coffees. And yesterday, I was with somebody that I've known for a few years now, and we were talking about a whole bunch of different stuff, but one of the things that came up was the topic of vulnerability. And I thought that it was actually a really great topic to bring up. And I know that it's kind of a conversation that a few people that I have in my circle of friends and community, and even with lovers and stuff, that the topic of vulnerability is a hot topic. And I think that the biggest reason for the topic of vulnerability is that we're really scared of it. We're really, really scared of it because it's not all put together. It's kind of messy. It's one of those places that you just go, what's going to happen here, right? Like, what's going to happen here? And in the land of vulnerability, that's what's so beautiful about it as well. Vulnerability, when you get through all of it, is just one other way of saying authentic. It is just one other way of us accessing our authentic self and revealing it to whomever we decide. So many, many times we go, oh, vulnerability, that's dangerous. Vulnerability is dangerous. Being vulnerable, it means that you're being weak. Being vulnerable means that, that you're not powerful, you're not strong. I don't want to be too vulnerable. I don't want to give too much. I don't want to share too much. I don't want to, let that be seen because I'm going to feel vulnerable. I don't want to step into that situation because I'm going to feel vulnerable. Well, that vulnerable feeling, that vulnerability showing up is just a very authentic aspect of self that's getting revealed, that is coming in. And it is that authenticity that really just, if you allow it, it's a superpower. And maybe that's why I should have called this, is like the superpower of vulnerability or something. Maybe I'll go back and edit it and change it. I don't know. But the statement that I used was actually said yesterday, so it was just like, that's kind of, vulnerability. It is a superpower, and it is something that we fight against. It we don't want to explore too deep because it scares us, just like our authentic self scares us, because we are afraid, and in our vulnerability, we are afraid that we're going to show up as too much. We're afraid that we're going to show up as not enough, that other person, and typically, right, that other person is going to go freak out and run the other direction. So we inauthentically shut our shit down. We're not vulnerable. We don't show up in the game fully, and we block everything that we possibly can. Okay? So we just block it, and we don't let the other person's inquiries, the other person's comments, the perceptions in to any depth. We actually just go, no, I'm not going to be vulnerable with you. I'm going to give you my head response. I'm going to give you the response that I think is, we'll just say, politically correct for this moment, for this relationship, for this, that, boom, 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 right? And that vulnerability just kind of falls to the wayside, and then we never, ever feel seen. We never feel seen. We never feel heard. We never feel true depth, true connection. And I can tell you that I have had some beautiful, beautiful, vulnerable experiences with lovers in the past. And one particular, well, I actually had like 3 different lovers in the past that has really presented this opportunity to completely reveal and become extremely vulnerable. And when you get into this space that you can just expand in that relationship, and I'm not just talking about vulnerability and sexing in this moment. I'm not going to flip this over to a sexual conscious coffee like yesterday's ended up being, but I am going to just say that vulnerability in an intimate relationship, or in a relationship of that nature of any kind, is definitely, you could say that it's the sticking glue, right? I ended up crying last night, and these tears were shedding from me, and they weren't negative tears. It was very cleansing and very just like somebody had just kind of taken so much off of my heart space, and I managed to get out of my head. Now, yesterday I was sharing that I couldn't get out of my head in an intimate moment, and then last night I found myself in this vulnerable space and having these deep conversations and being able to go there and reveal myself and open up at this level. Not still to the level that I desire, but that's here and there, and it's a lot to do with those things. But in vulnerability, when we lean in, when we step in, and we just allow ourselves to be revealed, what probably terrifies, I know I'm just speaking from a very moment of, this was last night, so in that moment of vulnerability, of having the conversations, of really allowing things to rise up, the vulnerability opened, and I felt myself wanting to open into this authentic state of being. And in this authentic state of being, guess what happened? Emotion came up, and with that emotion, I also felt fear. I felt fear of my emotion, fear of how I was going to be held in this space, fear of actually being seen in this vulnerable state, and how is it all going to be taken? Now, luckily for me, I had a good receiver on the other side in this moment, so it was taken with beautiful support, and allowing that all to just kind of drop down. That's not always the case. Sometimes we get vulnerable. Sometimes that emotion comes up, and because we get so edgy on it, or the other person is uncomfortable with vulnerability and not in a place of authentic receiving of us, because it really is more like, look at your vulnerability as though it is a gift to the other. And when we go there and we share that emotion, we share that heart-centered, just connection with somebody, that what is actually going on is that we are giving them a gift. Can they receive that gift? And are they able to hold that space coming back where, they're showing up in complete authenticity for that moment as well? And now, complete authenticity for that moment. Focus in on that comment right there, okay? Because our vulnerability, our authenticity moves with us. It changes with us. So that reveal of the moment right here with one person is going to be completely different than the reveal of the moment with another person, even around the same topic, okay? Or even with a similar scenario. So, like you could have multiple people in your life and showing up in similar ways in your life, and you're going to reveal yourself differently to each person. But that vulnerability is just being vulnerable to the moment, being vulnerable to your core self in the moment. That's what integrity is. Integrity is not about, I said that I would be there at 3:00 and then I show up at 3:05. Now I'm out of integrity. I said that, I was going to go and do this or this or this, and then life happens and that didn't happen. That does not make a person out of integrity, okay? That might be poor time management, that might be forgetfulness, that might be downright just lying and everything, because maybe they can't stand up and say, yeah, I messed up, I didn't set my alarm, I didn't do this, I didn't put it on my calendar, I did blah, 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 whatever that is. Those are human mishaps. That's not a integrity issue per se. Integrity is about being true to self and revealing that truth to somebody else. It's not about our human need to control time, to control events, to hold somebody to their word necessarily, because our words can change. I mean, can you imagine if you said, oh no, I want to eat chocolate cake for the next 5 days in a row and I don't want to eat anything else. And then you get to, that moment when you're like really in the middle of this point, and then all of a sudden somebody pops you this text and it just makes you smile. And yeah, that does happen, because it's like, okay, I read the text really good. But all right, so you want chocolate cake for like 5 days. You say that you want chocolate cake for 5 days. You get to day 3, and then you're like, I am burned out on chocolate cake. I don't want chocolate cake anymore. Now I want a burger. I want a salad. I want something healthy. I want this, I want that. Does that mean that you're out of integrity because you choose to no longer have the chocolate cake for the remaining days, but you yet said that just because you didn't keep your word to eating chocolate cake for 5 days? No. It means that you are in full integrity, full authentic revealing of self, because you're actually saying, this is no longer right for me. I'm not in alignment to who I am. I have the wrong emotions popping up now. Okay, and here's the trigger that you need to pay attention to. And I'm going to bring emotion into this, because emotion scares the shit out of us human beings, especially in today's time. We don't understand emotion. We have been taught to ignore, to block, to cover, to mask our emotions. And when we do all that stuff, it's like, oh no, you're emotional, you must be hormonal, you must be crazy, you must, be immature because you're paying attention to your emotions. And that's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Coffee break. Everybody grab your coffees and tip them up for a good sip if you have coffee or tea or whatever the heck you're drinking. Maybe you're drinking whiskey in the morning. I don't know. Doesn't much matter. I'm not concerned about what you're drinking. Emotion really is our guidance system toward our integrity. I think that's, I don't know if you understood that or not. So, emotion is our guidance system towards our integrity. Emotion is our guidance system towards our vulnerability in that case, right? And how comfortable we might be with it, and how on point we are with our soul. I'm going to just call it our soul, okay? So core, That's, who you really are. That is bigger than this physical body. That is your consciousness. However you want to perceive that, call that, whatever you want to label it. That's what I'm talking about. So that aspect of self that is so much more than what you are right here in your body. It knows everything. It is constantly telling you what to do, where to go, and what you need in your life, what you need to call into your life. Then we have this thing called our ego. It's of the mind, it's of the human state, and it wants to be heard. It is that screaming little 4 or 5-year-old kid that's just, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Why? Okay? That's the ego. It is constant. It remains constant. You're never going to be egoless. Anybody who says that you are is lying. It's just there. It's there for us to consistently parent, to consistently deal with, to consistently move with and adapt with, and to grow and to understand at a deeper level ourselves, okay? So when our ego nature, that grumpy little kid, when it disagrees with that is bigger than what our physical body is, our soul, and that's what I'm using in this case. When our ego disagrees with our soul, when our ego is leading us down a path that is not a soul path, guess what happens? We get negative emotion. So we constrain ourselves, we restrict, we start to feel grumpy, we start to physically have ailments show up, we're just not feeling good physically, mentally, emotionally. We're depressed, we're anxiety ridden, we're concerned about this, we're caught up in just like, I can't stop thinking. We overthink everything. We can't just escape to, what did I start this whole conscious coffee with, was the comment of sometimes the silence is so nice. Sometimes the silence is so nice. That state of silence, can you do it? Can you sit in a completely total silent room and be with nothing and no one, or maybe there's somebody there? Can you sit with somebody in a completely silent room and just be? Just be, and not have your mind go a million and one, thoughts on the mental freeway of your mind, going stir crazy and wondering, am I in the right position? What's so-and-so thinking? What do I look like? Why are we doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I got to pay that bill tomorrow. I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. If you can just be in that silence, if you can be in that silence and just embrace self in that silence. Now you're stepping into vulnerability, into authentic truth with self, okay? And then from there, what you're doing is now you're opening up to this whole connection with something more. If you can step into the silence and allow your mind to go into the silence, then you're going to have more inspired thoughts, inspired emotion, inspired action will come from that. But you have to go into the silence. This is where meditation comes in, okay? This is where that meditation is, just 10, 15 minutes a day of just silence and learning how to disconnect our soul from our ego and letting our soul just be and shutting that ego up for just a little bit. And how we do that is to not attach to all that it brings in. And the more we detach from all that it brings in, which means we don't jump into that thought. We don't just go down that rabbit hole with that thought. I see those thoughts. Thank you. I see those thoughts. Thank you. I see them. Thank you. But we don't attach to them, okay? We don't attach to them. So when we don't attach to that thought, over time, we stop noticing all the really just massive thoughts. There's not as many coming in. It grows fewer and fewer. And then all of a sudden, a thought will not go through. It will kind of have a rising up sensation. These thoughts, when they rise up, or maybe you look at it as a downpour or a download into your system, whichever, those thoughts they just feel so good. That feel good, that is you aligning to your soul. You, this physical you, this mental you, this you that is experiencing this life aligns to you, that soul, that thing that is so much grander, so much bigger, that is all knowing and is constantly trying to lead you into something else. When you have these negative thoughts, when you're feeling just stuck, when you're feeling anxiety, when you're feeling anger, when you're feeling fear, when you're like, oh my God, I feel sick to my stomach, I feel, there's like all this crap going on, this stress in my body, all of that, those are all signs that you are not in alignment to your soul. You are actually thinking things that are not in alignment to your soul. You are pulling yourself out of, you could say, that soul alignment moment where everything's going to happen for you. All that good shit's going to come to you. You're going to pull yourself out of that to get caught up in that whirlwind, that rabbit hole of negative thoughts, and get caught in that aspect of your life over here. But you know what? The soul doesn't really fucking care about that stuff, because the soul knows that we're moving forward. So much like a coach, much like what I do with my people that I work with, I'm always telling them, like, yeah, that's great that you went through that. Or, oh, I'm so sorry that you went through that. That's shit. That's, whatever. That is whatever. That's back there. That's back there. We don't want to go through it again. Do you want to sit here? Do you want to rehash that? Do you want to get caught into that negative charge? Do you want to re-anchor this negative charge right here by thinking about it, explaining it, needing to be understood, needing to, run back through it? Or do we want to move forward? Do we want to move forward? Because over there in that forward moving land, much like our soul, over here, if we just keep going this way, forward, then we can have everything that we want. And even more, the things that we don't even know that we want are there. They're there, they're accessible. It's just a magical moment away, but we have to stay in soul alignment as much as we possibly can. When we allow ourselves to be triggered by ego and we feel negative emotion rise up, tension in the body, physical stuff, when we get caught in that overthinking, the biggest thing that I want you to get from this is that you are now out of a state of vulnerability. You are now out of stepping away from your authentic self, and you are no longer in alignment. Plain and simple. That negative emotion is just a humongous sign that's screaming at you, stop! Stop your insanity. You're not in alignment. Get your ass back on your path of alignment over here. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here. Just put down that need to get caught in whatever it is, because if it doesn't feel good, it's not for you. It's just very simplistic. I know. How can it be that simple? It is. But you know what? I was listening. What was I listening to? I was listening to something, and it was a very simple, I'm probably going to not do it justice at all, but let me see if I can put this together. Now that I started it, and now it's kind of like trying to escape me. At the same time, I'm like, oh shit, it's leaving. Well, I guess it's gone. Whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. It'll probably come back in, and it'll just go pop. But that negative emotion is pulling you away from your authentic self. You at your core, who you are, who I am, who everybody who's watching this is a being of your truth, of your core, of your soul, of light, of love, of happiness, of joy. And when we of knowing what we want and being able to move toward it. And when we move toward what we truly want and what is the best path for us, the path of least resistance, you could say, that path, when we are in that path, we feel good when we're on it. When we step away from it, conscious or unconscious, all of a sudden it doesn't feel good. Now we feel sick in some fashion, okay? We feel grumpy, we feel pain. This is where suffering comes from. Suffering is just about not being in soul alignment. You don't want to suffer? Stay in soul alignment. You want to know how you stay in soul alignment? Stay in integrity. How do you stay in integrity? By being vulnerable, by being truthful, raw, real. And where are you doing this? With self first, and then you choose to show up in every single relationship, because even if you're just talking to your garbage man, you have a relationship with your garbage man. It's not just the people that are in your families and the people that you're dating and the people that you're at work with and that. No, those are not just all relationships in your life. It's every single person that you come up to in your life, that comes into your life in some fashion. So just show up in that moment as authentically as you can, and that's going to be a beautiful, vulnerable opening that you're now providing a gift to somebody else to receive a real human being. A real human being. That's it. Just receive that real human being, and as that stuff starts to move through, all of a sudden you start to feel a hell of a lot better. If you're paying attention to the emotion has to be paid attention. If you're not paying attention to the emotion, then you're going to constantly step off of that path of soul alignment, and you're not going to know why you're not in alignment, and you're going to feel like you have to force things. You're going to feel like you have to make things happen. You're going to feel like you have to control it. You're going to feel like you're going to lose. You're going to feel fear, anxiety. You see, all this shit is just going to bog you down and drain your ass, and then nothing good's going to come from it, okay? Plain and simple. You're just going to continue on in this struggle, and you're never going to fully be able to open up or to receive the things that you want, which at the end of the day, for most of us, all of us, is that we want happiness and we want love. That's it. What are we doing anything for? Why do we do anything? Because we believe that it's going to make us feel good, which means if we feel good, we are happy. We feel love coming in. We feel like our love is being received. We feel joyous. We feel happy. That's why we do what we do. Anything else, we're not doing anything for anything else. We're just doing it to make ourselves feel good. So we are selfish creatures that think that it's bad to be selfish, but we are consistently being very selfish. And it's perfectly fine. So in that selfish act of making yourself feel good for whatever story you want to tell yourself on that, fine. Realize that as you paint those stories, you're not being authentic. You're not being truthful with self and therefore with anybody else. And the way to actually tap into that is to just get right with it and go, no, I do want to feel good. And damn it, this is not making me feel good. This emotion came up, that emotion came up, all this different stuff. Why is that? Okay. And I'm not in soul alignment. How do I get back into soul alignment? Oh, maybe I shouldn't give two fucks here. Okay. Maybe I'm just overthinking this. I'm caring too much. I'm worrying about this too much. And realize that when you do lean into those negative emotions of anxiety, of fear, of stress, of anger, depression, jealousy, rage, anything like that. Okay. Anytime, I'm all clogged up. Anytime we lean into those emotions, that what we're really being told is that we, not somebody else, this is not somebody else's fault, that we have chosen to step away from ourselves. We are not listening to ourselves, okay? And all you have to do is step back into alignment. It's just get back in there. Change your thoughts. Focus on something good. I always tell people, I'm a big fan of Byron Katie and Loving What Is, because Byron Katie's work of Loving What Is absolutely a phenomenal, right on the mark way to get through a lot of this. And that is, let's say something rises up inside of you, anger or fear or anxiety, right? And you just got this thought going through your mind. And then the biggest thing that I always try to get people to do is just ask yourself, is that true? Is that true? And that's part of her work. It's one of the questions that she teaches in her work is that, to ask yourself, is that true? And it's so powerful, because when we ask ourselves, is that true? What we're doing is we are providing a space for doubt to come in. And as negative as doubt might be, in this instance, doubt is a beautiful gift to help us move from our ego-based thinking to our soul alignment feeling. And what we do here is we just apply this thought of, is that true? Chances are you're going to go, well, I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I'm feeling this, so there, and I'm thinking this, and I'm caught up in that, and what if? Well, what if doesn't make it true? What if, or I think this happened, or I think that happened. Are you sure? Is it true? Is it true that I happened? I don't know. Okay, or maybe you come back with yes. Well, if you come back with yes, that's true. Yes, I know that that's true. Then you have to just say, are you sure? Are you sure that you know that that's true? Because remember how I got done just telling you, and especially like when this often happens when we're in relationship, right, with somebody, and somebody tells us something and then it triggers us wrong, and then we're pissed off at them because we got triggered, or we're feeling something that doesn't feel good. So of course it's got to be the other person's fault because they're the ones who did yada 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 and triggered us. So it's their fault. It's not our fault. It's their fault that we're feeling crappy, that we're feeling this anxiety. They did it to us. Bullshit. They didn't do anything to us. I don't even care if that, but if you busted your partner, having sex right in front of you, and you are cheated on in that moment, if that happened, I can tell you what, it's still you being triggered. It's your decision as to how you're going to deal with the scenario, how you are going to proceed forward, and if you're going to let it derail you or not. That's just the way it is. That other person is just doing them, and that is that. And the more you can step away from the fact that you need to control another person's anything, that's where, or that they should show up in some fashion, that's where unconditional love becomes conditional. Okay? Unconditional love, which is also right here in the mix of all of this vulnerability, integrity, and everything else. Unconditional love is about loving somebody no matter what. They're with no expectation of how they're going to show up. And I can guarantee you that every single relationship you have, every single one, is going to trigger you negatively at some point in life. At some point in its course, it will trigger you. You're going to have disturbance, okay? That's part of relationship. You're never going to always get along. You're never going to always agree. Both parties are never going to always show up the way the others need, expect, or desire for them to show up. That's just not going to happen. We are human beings, and we're going to fall short of all that stuff for other people consistently. The only thing that ultimately matters is, are you being authentic? And if you're being authentic, you're providing space for that other person or other people to be as authentic as they possibly can too. Again, it is up to them to be authentic or not. You have no control over anybody else's authenticity. You have no control over anybody else's vulnerability, over their rawness with you, over their truth. And you cannot argue somebody else's truth. Oh my gosh. Sometimes, and I do hear this often with couples. Sorry, couples, if any of you that I work with are on here. But, I hear this with the whole thing of, well, but she's not being vulnerable with me. She won't go there. And I've done this and I've done that. And I want that. And I need her to be vulnerable. I need her to be this. I need her to be that. And I'm just giving this picture in order for me to do it. All right. Can you become more vulnerable, more authentic when somebody else is holding that space and being vulnerable and authentic themselves to the best of their ability? Yes, it does provide that space. But here's the thing, much like with anything else, you can get into this pissing war over who's going to do it first to hold space for the other, or you can just make the fucking decision to just step in and be vulnerable and let the cards fall where they will after that, because now you're being proactive, you're taking that step forward, and you're creating that space. I don't know what my dog's doing. I just hear all this like click, 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 click over there. But you have to, You don't have to. You can continue doing what you're doing, and you can continue living the way that you're living, and you can continue just to have those surface relationships. You can continue to feel safe in your suffering, or always wanting more, always lacking, never feeling seen, never feeling fully understood. You can continue all of that. You can continue the average and the ordinary way of doing relationship, of being. Lay down. Lay down. You're running around being all weird. I think she wants food. Yeah, old girl. Okay. You can continue doing what you're doing and have things that average and ordinary way. And if that's what you feel is best for you, fine. Go do it. Go do you. Because that's maybe your authentic self for right now, or the best of the authentic as far in as you can lean. Or you can step in and you can be completely just open and take that proactive move to lean in and show yourself and stop. And here's where the don't give a two fucks comes in. And I'm going to say to you, you can just stop giving so many fucks about this, and you can start to just reveal yourself and stand in your authentic self and be vulnerable in all the relationships that are there, and see what that does for you. See how that makes you feel. Breathe through the fear of not being held, of potentially being rejected, of people not knowing how to handle, and do it and do it again and do it again and do it again. Because when you breathe into that and you just stop caring what everybody else perceives, because their perception is their perception. Everybody's always going to have an opinion. Everybody's always going to have an opinion about you. Everybody's always going to perceive something about you. And I can tell you what, most perceptions are false. They're mostly false. And it doesn't matter. None of it matters, because the right people are going to show up for you. The right people are going to hold space for you. And that is where you find out their truth. Those are the connections that you want to lean more into. And you lean into those connections until those connections no longer vibe. And when they stop vibing, just realize it was a beautiful connection while it was there. It was positive for both sides. And now, for whatever reason, maybe it can't go on. Or maybe it goes on for a lifetime. Again, it doesn't ultimately matter. Our lives are constantly rotating or constantly moving. Part of being vulnerable is an acceptance that life is about expansion, about growth. It is ever changing. And we have to become vulnerable to life and that experience, and just breathe into that and stop trying to hold on to the past and recreate the past. Because you know what? No matter how good the past might have been on certain things, it was back then. It's not now. And now is all about you in this moment, how you're showing up, being truthful, being in integrity, revealing your beautiful essence to the world, and just stepping into that power. Because vulnerability is not a weakness. Vulnerability is a superpower. It really, truly is. And I tell you what, ladies and guys, singles out there, little bit of relationship advice. Little bit. You want to attract somebody, you want to make them stick. I'm not saying give them the downpour of vulnerability and be like, oh my gosh, let me tell you my whole sob story and how emotional I am, and oh, let's go get married tomorrow. Oh Lord, no, don't do any of that. That's not being vulnerable. That's being needy. That's being stupid, okay? And that is also just not what anybody wants. You wouldn't want that coming at you, so don't give that. But being vulnerable means to be able to have a real conversation with somebody without a facade there. So get out of that I've got this positioning when you're dating somebody. I'm presenting this, I'm presenting that. I'm not going to fuck up. I'm not going to slouch. I'm not going to make a weird face. I'm not going to drop food on my lap. I'm not going to accidentally trip into the restaurant. I'm not going to, belch. I'm not going to, whatever, my hair's not going to tweak. I'm not going to, show emotion. I'm going to be Mr. or Miss Perfect on this date because I want them to think I'm perfect for them. No, perfect for them, perfect for the date that you're on is an authentic person. If the person that you are going out on a date with is really truly a good person, they're going to want you to reveal your true self. They're going to want to see that stuff, and you can just show it. Just show it. I mean, anybody who's ever gone out on a first date with me, or a second or a third or a 10th or a 100th, probably would say, yeah, she was goofy on the first date. She didn't give a shit on the first date, because I don't. I'm like, I'm not going to fuck around with this. I don't give two fucks if I ever see this person again. A first, second, third date, I'm really not caring if I ever see that person again. So I find no need to try to be something that I'm not for somebody that I don't even know. Just showing up and being yourself in that moment is all that matters. And if you are embraced, if you're accepted, guess what? You will be loved, and you will be such stickable, like dating potential and relationship potential. You will have people coming back because they feel your realness. They feel your realness, and it's such a rarity in this world that when we actually feel somebody who's being true to themselves, that is real and authentic, then we want more. And then we want more and more and more and more, because now we want to see every aspect of that person. And that, especially ladies out there, that is something that is really, really desirable in human beings in general. And the reality is that 98% of us, all of us at one time or another, are not authentic. We're never 100% authentic 100% of the time. So get right with that one right now. We're all fake. We all do surface shit. We all fuck up constantly, left and right. I'm talking about when you really, truly are in that alignment. And when it comes in, because it presents itself to us every single day in little ways, in those moments, step in, reveal yourself, become vulnerable, let your superpower out, realize that people will actually start flocking to you, because the more truthful you are, the more people are going to love you for it. And of course, there's still going to be the haters out there, and those haters are typically the ones who don't know who the person in the mirror is before them. Okay, so just realize that they're the most fake. It doesn't matter. Okay, that stuff doesn't matter. And get right with who you are and reveal that beautiful soul of yours. Okay, vulnerability. Vulnerability is the topic of the day. I encourage you to go out today and to try to be as vulnerable as you possibly can in all your interactions with people. And that simply means what? I hope you learned it today, to just be in integrity with self. Show up in the relationship as the amazing you that you are, and let that you be revealed. Okay, guys, you can follow me on my website, www.kendallwilliams.com. Of course, you can follow me here like you're doing. Thank you for all the love. I see some comments came in, and if this touched you at all, if you know somebody who has some vulnerability issues, integrity issues, or something of that nature, hit the little share button for me. Help me get these conscious coffees out there. And let me see. Anything else that I want to share on this? Nope, I don't really feel like I need to share anything else, so I'm going to just leave it at that. You can also follow me on my coaching page, Kendall Renee Williams, where I share a whole bunch of other content and events and everything like that as well here on Facebook. So look for all that good stuff, and I hope that you have a fucking amazing day. It is beautiful here in North Texas, blue skies. A little cold outside though, but hey, whatever. It's wintertime, right? Yeah, and I will catch you guys tomorrow morning around the same time, same place, talking about who knows what, because it'll just be whatever pops up while I'm making my coffee. Okay, see you then.